Hello there, right here we have a brand new 1.17 snapshot. This is 20W48A. It comes with some new blocks as you can see, and with some really cool features like a lava farm. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you guys get to see those cool farm videos when they come out. And you can actually join us as we test out cool things that we can do with these new features on our Snapchat testing server. You can find the link to the stream down in the description. So I'll see all you guys there after watching this video, but let's get into all the new features. They added a new block, and this is dripstone block. It's in the block menu here in the creative menu, and it looks really cool. They also added another new block, which is pointed dripstone. This is what we kind of know as a stalagmite or stalactite, which are the ones that are on top. The one block actually does two functions, and you can click on the small ones to add more to it. You can see how they grow. And there is 4 different stages. Refer to thickness. On the right-hand side, you can see there's tip, frustrum, middle, everything else is going to be middle except for the very bottom, which is going to be base. And same things for the ones that are pointing downwards. And they look amazing just sitting there. And if the pointed dripstone is not attached to something, it will fall. If you fall onto the pointed dripstone, it will hurt you. Also hurt you if you just jump on it. Looks like it does about 1 heart. But the higher you are when you fall on it, the more it does. So this could easily be used to kill mobs from a lot lower distance. So instead of having a mob fall to death, you can make them fall part way and then hit one of these. That would kill them, and then you can just pick up the loot. And if the pointed dripstone falls onto the player, it will also hurt him. The farther it falls, the more it will damage him. Stalagmites will normally drip water, but they can also drip lava if there is a lava pool above them. You can see them here. This one's dripping lava particles, and this one's dripping water particles, and we got water and lava up here. And over time, this will slowly fill up the cauldrons. This one will fill with water, and this one will fill with lava. So you can essentially make, that means we got to make lava farms. As this source here will produce infinite sources down here, and all we have to do is scoop them up with a bucket. That is really cool, because people are always trying to think of ways to get more lava without going around and scooping it all up and being very difficult to transport. You can see right there, that one actually added a level to the water there. So it doesn't actually take too long. You can also make the tipped dripstone fall just by hitting it with a trident. You see it broke it off right where I hit it, and all of the pieces fell down. Now the pointed dripstone will naturally grow. We can make a farm very similar to like the vine farms, with the vine machine coming by and breaking them off. Each part of the pointed dripstone has a different hitbox. There's the tipped, here's the medium. You can see how you can step up them. That's a frustrum, and here's the base here. And if I add one more, this is the middle, so you can hop up each one. It's kind of like some really steep stairs. A lot of cool features can be done with this, like making very slow clocks, making new types of farms, and even the aesthetics of this block is pretty unique. We'll be doing a lot more testing of this during our Snapchat stream. Make sure you join that. But they also did some more changes, and one of them has to do with how bundles unload now. Now when you right-click them, it's just going to give you one item out of the bundle. And it looks like it takes it from the top. So I guess it's kind of predictable, which is probably the main thing that they're trying to go for. The first thing they put in are the first things that come out. But if you right-click it without being inside your inventory, it throws everything out. The advanced tooltips also have some new information at the bottom of this little pop-up, where it says fullness 64 out of 64. You can see how much more you can go before it's full without having to count everything up. Made a change to candles. They can no longer just be placed like anywhere like this, but instead they have to be placed on a solid surface. So anything the same size of the candle they can be placed on. Let's see if we can add more. Looks like you can add more, and they can exceed the block below them. But you can't have them like sitting in mid-air like this anymore. I wonder if these will update when I try to place a candle on them. Oh no, you just can't place any more candles on them. So they just need room for the first one to fit, and then the rest can fit on there as well. So no floating candles like Hogwarts. So now having any piece of leather armor will prevent the player from freezing when he's inside of the powdered snow. So I'm not getting any animation. If I remove the boots, you can see the screen starts zooming in, and I start getting the freezing animation on the outside. Go ahead, put the boots back in, and then it reverses. That's pretty cool. So it might actually be useful in some cases to have one of your pieces of armor be leather. They also changed the textures of amethyst, the candle, and the clock, as well as compass, and the spyglass, which now looks very squarish. And when you hold it, so it looks like you hold it, and you hold it outwards. It now looks very kind of straightforward. It is a 3D model instead of a flat one. They also add a game rule so you can turn off freeze damage, similar to you can turn off like fire damage. They also fix a few bugs in this snapshot, like this trick that you used to do with putting the player at such an angle so he can see very easily underwater. So notice how easy it is to see underneath the water, and then if I do this, it's a little bit harder. And this trick was used by speedrunners to kind of see nice things underneath the ocean. You can also do this with lava. This has now been removed. In swim mode, things in your hand would kind of have weird animations. You can kind of see how it's like pointing weird directions when you're trying to shoot a bow and swim at the same time. And this includes things like the telescope when it's trying to be used underneath the water. It looks really weird. They also fix it so the telescope doesn't wobble when you are walking. It kind of looks strange. They also fix it so there's not that weird little wave thing you can do by doing an attack and then also trying to use it at the same time that we showed during our snapshot testing. Look pretty cool, but doesn't make a lot of sense. They fix it so the items won't get immediately deleted if you unpack a bundle while being in creative. There were some problems with the Elder Guardian when he would give you the fatigue effect. His animations of his little spines going in and out would also show up on that effect animation, and that's not been changed. They fixed this bug in the new snapshot, so now making slabs will give you 6 instead of 4. They now fix it so that having full leather actually prevents you from freezing. This also applies to mobs. And they also made it so that you get the freezing effect in creative just like you would in survival, so you can test stuff easily. The powder snow particle effects wasn't showing up properly along the edges of the block, and they now changed it. If you had a compass that wasn't pointed to anything and you had inside of a bundle, it's been around rapidly. There were still problems with not being able to manipulate the saddle on a horse using commands, and they fixed that. The fabulous warning was showing up during times it shouldn't. This is when it doesn't really work with some people's graphics. When using structure blocks and trying to summon a structure with entities on, it was actually doing the opposite, and that's been fixed now. And I was kind of wondering why that wasn't working last time. TNT is translucent when it shouldn't be, so that's fixed in the new version. They also made some modifications to the item modification command, so it works in areas that it wasn't. Next is that the world border doesn't go beyond the build limit. It looks kind of weird. It looks like you can almost like fly over it or fly under it, which you cannot. But now it's been extended. It's really amazing how many new 1.17 features we already got, and just the extent of things you can do with these small changes. Quite amazing. Should be a lot of fun testing these out, and I will be doing a video going into all the things that we discovered during our testing stream, which is going on right now, so you guys can check that out at the link down in the description. Don't forget to leave this video a like as well as share it. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Minecraft update video. It's Snapshot 20W48A. We've obviously got some new features to check out, but I'm starting off this episode by letting you know there's some Minecraft news going down at the moment. I made a video about it on my second channel. You see, Mojang and Microsoft are implementing some universal moderating to make the platform safer and friendlier for people, and this is taking place on some realms, some featured servers, I believe within the Bedrock branch of the game. That means like mobile and the different consoles, and you should really go check that video out. I think it's important that the community is informed, but also not to overreact. I think they need to clarify more details with us, but it's a very interesting topic. I recommend listening to that video and not jumping to any conclusions here. But yeah, wanted to keep you informed, and now we'll crack on with the snapshot. So first of all, we're going to check out changes to the bundle, and this has inspired me with a little suggestion as well I think you're really going to like. The first thing is that you can right-click when holding the bundle to throw all the items out onto the ground. That's a pretty cool way to empty them because you can throw them into trash or you can pick them up, or maybe even just throw them into your sorting system, right? But I also reckon it'd be really cool if there was functionality for holding a bundle when you then pick up the items and those go into the bundle. That would be absolutely superb. Now, the other piece of functionality that's been added is the ability to right-click inside of the inventory and deposit a block. As you can see, when we pick these back up, the ones that come out are first in the list, and as you saw there, 2 came out at once. If you've got a pile of 16, all of those are going to come out at the same time, and I think that's really cool functionality. You can also see exactly how many items are in this by using F3 and H, which brings up advanced tooltips. Now, this is something I actually use a lot. It shows you additional information like the MBT tag and the name of the item, and now it will show you the fullness. So you can put 64 items in a bundle, and it shows us that we've got 30 inside of that one. And so if you want to play with that on, it is F3 and H. Those are the buttons that you press to put advanced tooltips on. So we have changes to candles, and it doesn't sound too good, but don't be alarmed. We're not going to lose any of our ability to create really cool details like this. This is the sword in the stone, and we'll still be able to make floating candles just like these ones over here. The change is that you can't put them on blocks that are essentially not a full block. So I'll place down this chest over here, and you'll see that I can't put the candles on top of it. Cobweb is another interesting one that you can't put the candle on. The enchanting table, basically ones that don't have a full hitbox. Now if we go over to like the fence gates and the fence post and try and put them on top of that, you'll see it's okay. And then when you remove this block, they're still able to float and stay where they are. So we'll still have the same functionality in terms of creating decorations. It'll just be a little bit more finicky to put together. We also have a change to Snowier Snow. You can see that I'm taking some freezing damage. If I put on any leather armor at all, you can see that that effect is removed entirely. Just by wearing leather armor, I'm not going to take damage. If I take it off though, as you'll see, the freezing effect is reapplied. Even though it was on the screen, that's probably a bug. And so after like 15 seconds or so, you'll start taking damage again. There is also a new game rule as well called freeze damage. So if we set this to false and then go and stand inside of the snow bucket, you can see again the effect appears on the screen, but it won't cause us to take any damage. You can now disable this form of damage with a game rule. And look at that, it even gives you the frosty hearts, but you know, you don't take any damage. And here's a couple of details about this block that I missed. I'm clicking right now. You can't place item frames on the Snowier Snow. The same is also true of redstone and redstone components. And the block also can't receive power either. You can see it's not powering the piston. When wearing leather boots, you can essentially turn this thing into a ladder just by holding down spacebar. You go upwards through the Snowier Snow block. There is also a custom death message. Asuma froze to death. There are also 2 new tag lists related to this block. Powder Snow walkable mobs has 3 mobs inside of it. The silverfish, the rabbit, and the endermite. And as you can see, they don't sink into the Snowier Snow. And this is probably because they're the smallest and lightest blocks inside of the game. And I just said blocks. They're the smallest mobs. And next up, we have texture changes. And these are not limited to blocks and items within this snapshot cycle. As you can see, the compass and the clock over here have received an overhaul. I kind of noticed it when I was making the video so far, going into the creative menu, seeing the search up the top there, but it is changed as well as candles, the amethyst, and possibly these crystals as well. So let's do our side-by-side comparison. So I was wrong about the crystals at the bottom. They haven't changed at all. The new amethyst texture is all right, but the budding one I'm really not as keen on compared to last time around. I think the candles look better as a single one instead of 2, and the compass and especially the clock look really good. So those are big improvements in my opinion. So be sure to let me know what you thought of those new textures with a comment down below. And if you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with these snapshots. And now guess what we're going to jump into? The dripstone, okay? Look at it. Look at it. It's going all the way to world limit. I don't think there's any limit to how big these things can be. But first of all, an important detail to start off with, you're not going to find this naturally generating anywhere in the Minecraft world. I've flown around for quite some time, and it actually doesn't surprise me. I think at some point or another, once most of the features have been implemented, they will then arrive in the form of world generation. So currently, if you go exploring, you're not going to find any of this stuff in some caves. Well, my friends, it feels like Minecraft might just be changed forever here. The dripstone block and the pointed dripstone allows you to do some interesting things. This is just a quick design I threw together that feels like perhaps a wall to a Jurassic-themed garden or something along those lines. This is a really fascinating block. There is a lot we're going to learn about in this snapshot video. We might not get everything in one go, but I'm going to spend some time poking around with this thing, and I've already learned a bunch of stuff already. Before we go into F3, actually, you can kind of like place this on any block you like and grow it as well, which is kind of cool. It doesn't have to be put on the dripstone itself. And if we press F3 to look at it and look at the right side of the screen, you'll see that it has thickness, vertical direction, and waterlogged. That's right, it can be waterlogged. And its vertical direction is currently up, and its thickness is tip. And then when you grow it, it's frustrum and tip. And then you have a base frustrum and tip. And then you get middle, which appears in the middle. So as it goes beyond 4 blocks tall, those other ones become middle. You can see these 2 are middle, and then these 3. So 2 unique blocks at the top and 1 at the bottom. Now these can be placed under and on top of blocks, and when they're facing downwards like this, you'll see that the vertical direction simply says down. You'll also notice there are some particles dripping off of this, and that's because you can use it to farm water inside of a cauldron. Now I've had no luck. I've been putting the cauldron at this height and down here as well, and I've got nothing going into either of these. I've even turned up the game speed as fast as I can, and when doing that, I also didn't observe any growth. Everything you've seen here has been me placing it. It's not like a plant where it might grow slowly over time. So anyway, you can fill cauldrons with water and lava. Supposedly they will drip from the bottom of the dripstone. The particle effect changes if you've got lava a block above, and on the block it says that's what you need. You need lava or water above this block for it to fill up a cauldron. I've also tried this at different heights as well, been turning up the random tick speed, but that seems to have no influence, so this is potentially a very rare event. But here's the other thing. If we can fill up cauldrons with lava, then maybe this is a way to have a lava farm, and lava currently isn't renewable. It's something you have to go out and harvest from a lava lake in the overworld, or from the nether, of course, and with this snapshot, we might be able to make lava farms. So as you know, the pointed dripstone can be placed on pretty much any type of block. I tested it on quite a few, and it can also be waterlogged and placed underwater, which looks super cool. It's in no way broken by water either, so if you really want to, you can just, plop that in right there, and it's successfully waterlogged. And when it comes to making shapes like this, there is another type of the block called tip merge, and you can see that has both vertical directions, so it can detect when they're going to join together, and then it creates the tip merge, and they unite. It's pretty cool. Now, if we are to break the blocks that they are supported by, that's when they come crushing down, and all the different parts of it break. When you do it this way, they simply just pop off and actually drop their items. Now, if you've been following the development of this snapshot cycle, you would have seen at Minecon and in some of the tweets from the Mojang devs that these things do damage. And as you can see, falling a small distance did about 8 hearts of damage. And if I go up 1 block higher, this is going to kill me. So here we go, and that is the death of me. Now, what I've also been testing is if having a bigger base made any difference at all, but that doesn't seem so, and it kind of makes sense from a technical standpoint, as the block here is the tip, as it is here, so you land technically on the same block every time. And that is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks, and you take 8 hearts of damage, and then 6 blocks, and you're kaput. So these things are very powerful. And the same seems to be true with mobs as well. As you can see, it dropped down and died if we do it from this height right here. Go on, buddy. It'll survive. So it seems that mobs take the same amount of damage. And there was a lot of speculation about using these for mob farms when we saw hints of it in development. And the thing is, you can pick these up and place them back down again. So what about these blocks when it comes to mining them in survival? I find it kind of interesting that you can just use a wooden pickaxe. You do not need the Silk Touch enchantment, for example. Now, currently, I have the Haste 2 effect, and I've also got a pick with efficiency 5, and that is how you instant mine this stuff, as you can see. Anything lower than Haste 2, though, and it won't work, and no, I didn't test this with the netherite pick. So in survival Minecraft, you can obtain this, possibly use it for a mob farm. You can see here, this is lower than a full block, and a hopper can pick up anything that's within the full block above it. The problem is you can't put the pointed dripstone on the hopper. So what we're probably going to see is some sort of trick with a hopper down here and a hopper minecart inside of this block. But anyway, there is another way in which we can take damage, and that is when it falls on us. And you saw there, fair bit of damage. If we raise this up by 1 block, you can see that we take more damage again. And once we reach this height, we're basically going to die. And that is 12 blocks in total, although you might not count the first 1 or 2, and then you could factor in the height of the player. That could be like 10 blocks. And it felt to me like as I was going up block by block, it was about each block of height that added up to a heart of damage. So now I'm lowering this thing so that we can do another test. That one did about 4 hearts of damage. And so here is our new test. The thing is, this bit right here is going to fall a lot less distance, right? It kind of looked to me like perhaps each one was doing damage. It is certainly a little tricky to figure out. And yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. I don't think the damage is stacking, but yeah, you get the idea. So there are lots of questions to be asked of this block. One unique feature that it has is that it can be broken by tridents, which is really cool. I'm going to guess it doesn't work for swords and arrows. This is just a unique feature for this weapon. And there are other questions, like how does it interact with pistons? You can see that it can kind of push off the top one, yet keep the ones below attached. Now you can see here as I place these that it updates the observers. It seems to update the ones above them, and then it will update all of the ones below because, of course, it's affecting everything that's placed below it. To an extent, though, as you can see, the middle block doesn't change all the way down. And then when we pop this off, absolutely everything gets updated because the block updates make their way downwards as well. And so there'll be more to learn about this block, and I'm going to be covering that in next week's snapshot video if we do get one. And now I'd like to talk about last week's snapshot and a couple of things that I missed. First of all, the spyglass has changed, and it's also changed in this snapshot as its block model now appears in the menu instead of the icon. But the change last time around was this texture right here, which I think is quite fitting. This is an improvement. However, I really think it should just stretch the width of the screen. Even though this thing is a square, not a rectangle, we can get creative a little bit here. Also, if you've ever used the structure block, it used to go to the data screen by default. It no longer does that. You can see you can rotate between load corner and save. And if you want to get to data, you've got to hold down Alt, and then that'll take you to the data screen inside of the structure block. And last of all, the lightning rod. I was watching Slice Lime's video, and he explained that the radius of 64 blocks was not in fact a square. I kind of assumed it would be in a square shape like a grid around this thing. It's actually circular from the very point where you put this inside of the world. So now moving on to the bug fixes. When swimming, some animations in the game, for example shooting a bow, look really strange before the snapshot, and so some consistencies with swimming and animation have been taken care of. There's also this really old bug where if you position yourself inside of lava at certain heights in the world, the lava can disappear, it becomes transparent, you can sort of x-ray look through things. That has been patched in this snapshot. And the rest of the bugs basically relate to things in this snapshot update cycle, so things aren't really worth going over. However, slabs in the copper recipes have been changed from giving you 4 to 6, which I think is a far better idea. And that, my friends, is pretty much everything worth talking about, so don't forget about that video on my second channel regarding moderation in the Minecraft platform. There'll be a link to it in the description box down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, thank you for your support, and hopefully we'll see you next week with another snapshot video. Bye-bye.
Hello everyone, my name is Pixaris, and welcome to a snapshot video. Today we're going to be taking a look at 20W48A, the brand new snapshot that has just been released for the Minecraft Caves and Cliffs update. And most notably, this update has added dripstone into the game. Now, dripstone is kind of interesting. Right now, it does not spawn anywhere naturally in the world. So if you're expecting to start up a snapshot world and find this stuff in survival, I've taken a look around and it does not seem to be generating anywhere yet. If I go into spectator mode right now and take a look down through the ground, we can see a few features that have been added in snapshots already. We've got some geodes down there, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like dripstone is going to be generating naturally in caves, probably, I would guess, until cave generation has been updated in its entirety. So once we have new cave generation in the world. We might be seeing a few more of the dripstone cave features, but for now, we just get to look at the block itself and its variants. And it has two specific variants, which we're going to find by searching for them in here. The first of which is dripstone block, which right now does just seem to be a building block, but we'll take a look at that in a second and see if it has any crafting recipes attached to it. The next one is pointed dripstone. Now, this is quite a clever naming scheme for Mojang because, of course, it can be placed on the floor to form stalagmites and on the ceiling to form stalactites. But once you pick this stuff up, it's the same block wherever you happen to get it from. So I think it's actually quite clever of them to give it a different name, considering they don't necessarily know the origin of these blocks, but they want to make sure that it's not just going to be a bunch of different blocks. They're actually the same material coming from two different places. Now, you'll already see this dripstone behaving kind of interestingly. For a start, we have a single piece there that sort of reminds me of a fern or a piece of bamboo before it starts to grow, but then once you add additional pieces of dripstone onto it, it actually starts to form a larger trunk kind of thing, and then eventually it ends up just kind of hanging down at the same length. So you'll find that they actually vary in size, and much like plants, they tend to orient themselves a little bit off-center from a block, which is actually perfect for these formations generating in ways that look organic. They don't seem to grow like plants, though. You're not going to be able to bone meal these and get them to grow anymore. Once they generate in the world, they seem like they might end up being a finite resource unless there is some sort of crafting recipe for them added a little bit later. Now, you'll notice that these have also started to drip water, and pointed dripstone will actually fill up a cauldron if you put a cauldron underneath it. It will start to drip those particles of water into a cauldron, and that is slowly going to fill up the cauldron with water over time. And you could potentially use this for a variety of things. It might be useful just to generate new water if you don't have easy access to it, but if you're in a caving situation and you want to get a bucket of water, just pop a cauldron underneath one of these from the iron that you've mined out from the walls, and then pick up the water source from the cauldron using a bucket when you are ready to go. This is a gradual process, though. It will actually take a little while, but the cool part about this is that it's not just water that is affected this way. Let's take a look at, say, this piece of dripstone here. I'm going to have to be quite careful because if I break a block, the entire thing is going to fall, and it might end up falling on that creeper in a second when we test that out. But the dripstone is also going to be able to drip particles of lava into a cauldron as well. Let's see if we can wait around for this to start. There we go. Despite the fact that this piece of pointed dripstone is 4 blocks long, it is dripping lava into this cauldron from a block above where the dripstone starts. So that's actually going to fill up this cauldron with lava over time as well, which means we now potentially have a renewable source of lava in Minecraft, and that has me even more excited than having water drip into cauldrons, because imagine over time being able to create a renewable source of lava with cauldrons. That means very, very slow but infinite fuel, and that's going to be really interesting to see how that is balanced in the game, if they make any more changes to it or if they're just happy with lava being a slowly farmed resource. Let's move on to take a look at the dripstone blocks, which are, of course, the aesthetic form of dripstone, and I think those actually look pretty nice. There's an interesting texture going on here. It's a lot more kind of harsh than a stone texture would be. There's a lot of contrast in this texture. I can see it blending pretty well with blocks like granite, so let me pop down some granite.
It can be used as a source of renewable lava, and that's awesome. And this is pretty much the only useful feature for me.
Granite nearby, and granite has not had a great deal of stuff that compare with it all that easily, and even that seems like quite a contrast, but I wonder if maybe we'll end up seeing a little bit of change in that in future, or if it's just going to sit like this as part of the color palette for the next little while. It certainly looks quite similar to the formation of the pointed dripstone, so I think that fits together pretty well, and we'll see that generating in kind of areas like the diorite and the granite already naturally do in caves once cave generation gets changed, alongside a bunch of this pointed dripstone coming up from the ceiling and the floor. But as of right now, it doesn't seem like there are any crafting recipes available for dripstone or pointed dripstone. It can't be used to make any stone crafting recipes. It doesn't make a stone button. That's just because I've got a piece of stone in my inventory. You can't form pointed dripstone into blocks, and you cannot form dripstone blocks into pointed dripstone. I've tried a couple of different formations in here, and it doesn't seem like the two of them are interchangeable. So these seem like a finite resource for now. We don't know if we're going to get a crafting recipe for them, or if they will eventually just be a finite resource out there in the world, but there'll be enough of it that hopefully you'll be able to gather some. And you'll want to gather some because if I trap this creeper over here, or maybe spawn in a zombie in an area that it can't escape, we can test out some of the other features of this, namely the fact that dripstone will actually damage mobs, including players. So let's put down a little glass box that a zombie will not be able to escape from. Let's spawn in a zombie and let's see what we can do with it. And entirely by chance, I got myself a baby zombie, but I think that will do. So right directly above this zombie, we're going to place a stalactite of dripstone, the pointed dripstone above here, and if we break the block that is holding up, there we go. It took a little bit of damage there, although it did not instantly kill it. In some of the kind of promotional videos for this, initially we saw mobs taking lethal damage from this, but it does not seem like that is going to be the case. It seems like a lot of the mobs are just going to take a little bit of damage, which makes sense, right? You don't really want this stuff to be an insta-kill. And if I jump onto it as a player, we can probably measure a little bit easier how much damage we are going to take from this. Yep, there we go. I just took a heart of damage from that, and that is going to heal up pretty quickly. I wonder if we place maybe a slightly larger piece, if that's
It can drip lava and fill up cauldrons, and it also do a lot of damage to mobs falling on it, and will probably be used as a decoration.
The damage value just hadn't been set yet. Having said that, it's also going to be possible to be hurt by a stalactite falling from above. So if I break this one, ouch, yeah, that did lethal damage to me. So surprisingly, it seems like players are going to be affected by falling stalactites more so than mobs are currently affected by it. That's interesting. Let's have a quick check in on our cauldrons, and neither of them have started to fill up with anything in particular. So it's unfortunately looking like this is going to be a very, very slow process, the kind of thing that you'll want to set up if you're setting up a lava farm over a very, very long time. One last thing to check out about dripstone, because it's mentioned in the patch notes here, tridents will be able to break pointed dripstone when thrown at it. So you'll actually be able to break stalactites from a distance if you are a little bit concerned about them. I presume that also counts for the ones want on the floor as well. Yes, okay, it does. So you're going to be able to use a trident for that, which means another use of tridents, I suppose. But that's actually pretty significant because that's the first time in Minecraft that we've really been able to break anything like that from a distance without using an explosive like TNT. The first time that we've really been able to break a block from a distance greater than the swinging distance of a pickaxe. Really interesting stuff. And just in case it's affected the speed at which these cauldrons are filling up, I've set the random tick speed really high. Normally this would affect things like plant and crop growth, but in this case it does not seem to be affecting how quickly the cauldrons fill. So that seems to be affected by the amount of drips that are going into a cauldron. Maybe there's some game tick at work there instead of random tick speed, but
Yes, I'm pretty much waiting for 1.17 to do a lot of overworld projects.
either way, it does seem like it's going to take a very long time to fill a cauldron. So I popped out here to a creative flat world to do a little bit more experimentation about exactly how the pointed dripstone is going to deal damage and what factors affect how much damage it does. And after experimenting here with my favourite test subjects of the Wandering Traders, I have determined that it is actually based on the height from which the pointed dripstone falls, or the height that the player or mob or entity, whatever it happens to be, falls from onto the pointed dripstone. Much the same way that anvils will deal more damage if they fall from a greater height, the same seems to be true of the stalactites that you have to be wary of falling from a cave ceiling. So for a quick example here, we've got this one maybe 5 or 6 blocks above this Wandering Trader here. If I break the top block of the pointed dripstone, the bottom half falls onto the Wandering Trader and he takes a little bit of damage. I guess that's probably about 2 hearts worth of damage, considering it's about the same amount of damage you receive if you fell from that height. Now I've gone all the way up to the height that will kill you if you fall from it. It's about 24 blocks in the air, and I'm going to try the same thing. So if I break this piece of dripstone here, the pointed dripstone is going to fall, and it's going to absolutely annihilate the Wandering Trader, making certain that I'm fairly sure this is based on a full damage style mechanic, or an anvil damage mechanic, where the further it falls, the more lethal it is. Now let's move on, or maybe it's better to say move backwards, to powdered snow, because powdered snow was actually added in a previous snapshot that I didn't color because it didn't change a whole lot else about the game. I figured I would just end up getting to it when we had a few more features to play around with in one of these videos. And so powdered snow can be obtained from mountain biomes once again world generation changes, but you can obtain it in the meantime by having snow fall into a cauldron. Cauldrons are now becoming a much more useful block to have around. So if I do weather rain up here, and I'll do that for a little while just so it snows for a little while, once the weather changes to snow, we'll start to see this cauldron start to fill up with powder snow. And once the cauldron is full, much like other things that form in cauldrons now, you can collect powder snow in a bucket. Powder snow is intended to be a trap block. It's the kind of thing that you might use in traps for mobs or other players, and by laying it down using a bucket, you actually get a full block of powdered snow, which, as you can see, you fall through and you kind of stick in the same way that you do with honey blocks. It's kind of difficult to jump out of powdered snow, and the only way I'm able to get out of it right now is by flying using creative mode. I'm going to switch myself back into survival mode here, but even in creative, this effect is noticeable. That once you step into a block of powdered snow, you start to get this really interesting frosty vignette forming on the corners of the screen, almost like frost forming on the glass pane of a window in a really, really cold environment. And eventually you'll notice that your hearts start to turn blue, and you'll start to take some frost damage. This is the first time that a damage type like this has been present in Minecraft, and once you step out of it, the effect will go away. The frost effect will end pretty much instantly. Your field of view starts to kind of snap back into its usual focus, and you'll be able to walk away from it. If you get trapped inside of several blocks of powdered snow, though, it's going to look a little different. I really like the fog effects that they put in here now, and the effect really starts to take hold very fast if you're standing in a couple of blocks of this. I'm back in creative mode now, so it's not going to deal any damage to me, but this could end up being lethal if you are not prepared to deal with it. As you can see, even in creative mode, it's not possible for me to jump out of here unless I start flying, so that could be very, very difficult to escape if you don't have a shovel or a bucket on you. The answer to this is wearing leather armor. I've just got a single leather tunic on right now, and in the previous update, it was only possible to completely protect yourself from the frost effect if you wore a full suit of leather armor. However, now it seems to be the case that only one piece of leather armor is going to protect you from freezing entirely, meaning that if you want to traverse these biomes and you're worried about these traps, it might be necessary to wear your best leather boots. Leather boots will actually allow you to walk on top of powdered snow and even climb up through it in much the same way that you can climb up through scaffolding. I'm just going up and down here by using the spacebar and shift, the crouch and jump buttons, so it's actually a lot easier to traverse if you're wearing leather boots. So at this point, you might be considering adding leather boots to your wardrobe permanently if you're traveling through areas like mountains. Now, much like other types of environmental damage, you might want to disable this freezing damage effect, and if we do game rule freeze damage, there is now a way to do that. If we set this to false, then freezing damage will not occur when you spend a little bit too long in the blocks. The effect will still pop up around the corner of the screen, but it won't actually deal any damage to you if you want to disable that entirely on a server or a world that you play on, and you can always set it back to true if you're ready to take that extra step and have the freezing damage affect you. Let's come back down from the mountains, though, to talk a little more about...
Endermind is to lure the Endermans into the killing chamber, so Wither can kill them and we can get Wither roses.
Bundles. Bundles have been a hotly debated topic since they were announced, and now that they've been introduced and players have had a chance to play around with them more, Mojang has been adjusting the way they behave. So let's go into survival mode. Right here I've got a bundle that contains a few resources that you might expect to get in the early game. Some mob drops, the kind of stuff that you might want to put in a bundle just to save a little bit of space in your inventory. And previously, when you right-clicked on a bundle, it would empty its entire contents out into your inventory, whereas now, if you right-click on a bundle, you simply take out the last stack of items that was put in, and it isn't doing that one item at a time, it is doing all of those items at once, which could end up feeling a little bit more usable to players who thought that it was kind of overkill to have all of the stuff just pour out into your inventory. The same thing happens if you pick up the bundle and right-click.
Yes, I am from Poland, but does that mean I have to make content in Polish? No, I will make my content in English, because I enjoy it more.
somewhere in your inventory, giving you a lot more control over exactly where those items end up when you return them to your inventory. If you don't have your inventory open and you use a bundle, you'll actually throw the entire contents of the bundle out onto the floor while keeping the bundle in your hand, and that's going to be really interesting in terms of interaction with automated storage, because previously you would have to fill up your entire inventory with items so that the bundle would eject them all onto the floor, and I think now it's a little bit easier for you to just chuck all of this stuff into a hopper and let the auto-sorting system that you've built deal with the rest of it. Another feature that I was really hoping for from bundles has popped up in this snapshot, and that is that the fullness of the bundle is now indicated as a number underneath the inventory if you have advanced tooltips switched on. Now, this is a Java Edition exclusive thing. If you press F3 and the letter H, it enables and disables advanced tooltips, and this is normally how players see the exact number of durability left on tools or armor or anything that you're worried about it breaking. Now, the bundle has added that for fullness so that you can see exactly how much space is left in a bundle, which I think makes perfect sense, because if you're carrying around a bundle and it looks like it's a little bit over half full and you have maybe like 24 or 25 items that you want to stash in there, without that number, there's no real way of knowing how much space is left in the bundle, and you could end up trying to put something in only to find that you didn't have enough room, or you could end up not putting something in when you actually did have room and it would manage to declutter your inventory. So I think it's actually really nice that we now have a numerical representation of how many items are in the bundle. That's going to be super useful just to make sure that you're leaving enough space in the bundle for other items, or that you know exactly how much space is left if you want to put something in there. Is that a ruined portal?
Thank you. Thank you, Dominik Grabowski. It's weird to say Polish names in English, so I will just spell it like in Polish.
Over there in the mesa? I think it is. Let's take a look through the spyglass, which in the last update actually got a brand new vignette around the outside. It is no longer a circle, it is a square with a neat little bit of pixel art border around the outside. I think this is a really interesting change. And not only that, but in this update, the model for the spyglass has changed slightly as well. So now when you're holding it up, it looks like more of a 3D model than a 2D sprite, and it also looks that way in the player's inventory. Let me up the GUI scale a little bit so you can see that a little better. There we go, right down there at the bottom of the screen. You can see the spyglass now has that kind of more 3D tubular effect, and I think it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. The spyglass is not the only thing that's had an inventory icon update. We did have an update to bundles in the last snapshot, and now in this snapshot, we've also seen a change to compasses and clocks. These look kind of similar to how they did before, of course, just with a little bit more of that pixel art shine to them, and I quite like these textures. I think they really stand out a little bit extra, and I don't really use the clock all that much anyway. The compass just looks a little bit shinier around the edge, and I really think that's kind of given them a bit of a glow up, to be honest with you. Another thing that has changed and then changed back is candles. Candles previously had this single candle texture that was changed so it showed two candles to kind of imply that you can cluster them together, but now that's changed back to just having one candle, but you can still, of course, form a cluster of them. Another change that's come to candles is that although they don't need a block underneath them once they are placed, they do need to be placed on top of a solid surface. You'll see here that I can't really place them on any of the leaves around here. I have to come down here and place them on the ground. But it would be perfectly possible, for example, to remove the block underneath them and then place a leaf block there. They won't pop off the block, they will still remain there and they'll still be able to float in the air. You'll just need to put them on a solid surface before you do, and you can't just place them in midair against the trunk of this tree, for example. Some of the block textures have gone through a couple of changes in the last couple of snapshots, actually, and now we have another texture for amethyst and budding amethyst, which I think is a lot clearer now than it used to be. The bud section sort of was limited to an area in the middle before, and it just looked like a darker version of this texture, whereas now it's quite clear that it's got sort of a kind of cross-shaped pattern in there, which should actually line up pretty well. If I can grab some of the amethyst buds and clusters out of here, it kind of lines up with exactly where those form and outlines them quite nicely. So that makes it a lot clearer when you're mining out a geode which blocks are the budding amethyst and which are not. You'll also find that calcite has been updated recently. That was in the previous snapshot, of course, which I didn't cover on this channel at the time, but it's got a more crystalline texture to it, which I actually really quite like. I think that looks like a more marble texture. It's going to look really nice next to quartz and other blocks of the same type. Could make a nice easy bridge between quartz and diorite now as well. Tuff has not been through any changes in-game yet, although Jasper Burstra, the developer of the textures for this update, has been teasing a few alternate textures for Tuff, so they might still be looking into these in future. It's important to give your feedback if you think any of these textures could be refined in any way. Let them know, but let them know in a constructive way, of course, because nobody wants just complaints. They want to know how things could be made better. We've also seen cut copper change.
I don't really enjoy playing Bed Wars. Oh, bot one, you're welcome in here. Okay, no one else have written anything interesting. Yes, and there might is to lure the Endermans into the trap when where Wither can kill them easily.
A little bit. Also, I believe the lightning rod has either been toned down a little bit to be more in line with the cut copper, or the copper has been brightened up to look more like the lightning rod. But either way, these two match a little bit better now, and I think the lightning rod still makes for a really excellent candle holder, so I think we're going to be seeing a lot of people using them that way when the update eventually arrives. Well, that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little look at the snapshots, and if you take a look behind me, once again, neither of these cauldrons are full up yet, so it really is going to take a while for us to get renewable lava, but trust me, I think that's going to be a really interesting change to Minecraft. If you guys like this snapshot and you want to see more snapshot review videos from me, let me know in the comments, and let me know what your favorite feature of this snapshot is. Personally, I think these new dripstone features actually look super atmospheric in cave scenes now. And hello, of course, the Wandering Trader has showed up for the end of the video. Folks, thank you so much for watching this snapshot video. My name's been Pixel Riffs. Don't forget to leave a like on it for me if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.
I am really terrible at saying hard words, especially in Polish, so Revolverowiec, how do I say it? Revolverowiec, or stu spowyłamywanymi nogami. Sorry for the Polish, I will turn back to English. Because I'm not speaking anything.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So after we got a break last week from the snapshots, we got a new snapshot this week, and dripstone blocks got added and pointed dripstone. So in the background we can see the pointed dripstone that forms stalagmites or stalactites. At the moment, the dripstone block, which is this one here, and the pointed dripstone doesn't generate naturally, you can only get it in creative. Right, now let's talk about some of the cool things you can do with the pointed dripstone mostly. We're not quite sure yet what the dripstone block is for, probably just a generation block. You can also mine it with a pickaxe and get the block. Right, so one of the interesting features is that it quadruples the fall damage.
So Creeper that usually needs to drop down 23 blocks, only needs to drop down around 6 blocks now in order to be killed by a fall. So you can check that out. See, Creeper gets killed with such a fall. Okay, this also would apply to any other mob that takes fall damage. So the Enderman usually needs to fall 43 blocks because it has so much health, and then 11 blocks should be enough now. I picked up some sand. Wow, it was quick. Let's try it again. Fresh Enderman. There we go, gets killed. So you can also place down a dripstone on any normal block. You can even run on it, but you gotta be careful not to jump around on top of it. So the pointed dripstone is also not movable. It would break in item form. So in order to get the item, you don't need to select anything, you just need to break the block somehow. Normal pickaxe, blow it up, push it with a piston, and yeah, you can also get the dripstone block. Falling stalactites can also damage or even kill mobs below. So if you remove the supporting block, the falling dripstone block will, like an anvil, damage or even kill mobs below. Bumping your head into stalactites on the other hand wouldn't damage a player or a mob, so if you shoot this creeper up, you can see it doesn't get damaged. It's also noteworthy that all the pointed dripstone blocks update immediately if you remove the supporting block. But there's not a one game tick delay in between. The same goes for the stalagmite. Break the bottom, then all the blocks above immediately break. Okay, let's actually talk about the hitbox because that's actually quite interesting. It kinda is a horizontal fence because
Sorry, I used to watching videos at high speed.
but it's super interesting. As you can see here, if I align myself against the sand block, I can't walk forwards anymore because the collision box of the pointed dripstone block is in the way. So I could even place another block here, or for example, a trapdoor on the side. Then you have a very narrow walkway to walk in between. So unfortunately, this is really position dependent. So they all come in the same size, but they have a random offset from the center of the block. As you can see here, in some cases you could almost walk in between. Here they're even overlapping. So this might be useful in very specific cases, but since it's random, it's probably hard to recreate reliably. Next, let's take a look at something very interesting. The pointed dripstone added a mechanic that makes it possible to have renewable lava. So if there's a lava block above the block that the downwards facing pointed dripstone is attached to, then you can already see the little particles. There's lava of water dripping down, and a cauldron below can be filled by that. It's actually rather fast. So in case a random tick would select the dripstone block, then there's a 29% chance the cauldron below is getting filled up one layer. You need still a total of 3 to fill up entirely. Or a 17% chance that the cauldron below is filled up with lava. So there's only one stage, so it will be filled up immediately. I can set the random tick speed a bit higher, and we should be able to see this rather quickly. Here we got a layer of water ready. Okay, lava also got filled up. Yeah, just waiting for one more layer of water. There we go. Maybe an interesting side note, sometimes if you have multiple pointed dripstone on top of each other, you still get the lava drips, but it seems like the cauldron below does not get filled up. Also, the lava of water has to be a source block, so this one here in the middle is flowing lava, and the cauldron below doesn't fill up. Renewable lava also means we have now more alternatives to do things. For example, it would be feasible to make a lava-based furnace array. So instead of just having to go to the nether every time, you could make a renewable setup. It's especially interesting for skyblock world. You can also turn the lava, of course, into obsidian. This would be a new way to make an obsidian farm where you don't need to rely on the nether portal generation or the regeneration of the obsidian platform in the End Dimension. So here would be a simple setup, I guess. You could just AFK in one spot, the player gets resupplied, buckets, inventory is completely filled up. Every time one of those passing cauldrons is filled up, the bucket of lava would be dropped and be picked up somehow. And later you can...
Oh, that's interesting. I dropped Guitar after 5 lessons when I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, turn it into obsidian and maybe use a wizard to break it or mine it for pickaxe. Oh, by the way, since we have a falling block entity, we can also dupe the pointed dripstone using the end portal method. So let's actually quickly go to the end, just to show you there is no items or anything. Let's quickly head back. Then we break the supporting block here, pointed dripstone falls down. Let's actually clear the inventory real quick. Let's go to the end again, and we'll have 2 items. So we get the item and the falling block entity in the end dimension. Okay, but it seems like unlike, for example, with sand, anvils, or the dragon egg, you would always need a player to place a new pointed dripstone. So since you can't get it back in block form. So you would always need to at least place a block, then maybe a piston could retract it, and then a player could place it again, and you get 2 on the other side. So this would be a way to dupe the pointed dripstone and make a farm out of it, but at least it would require a player. That might also be noteworthy, so the pointed dripstone can also be waterlogged, and a thrown trident is capable of destroying the pointed dripstone blocks. Alright, enough about the pointed dripstone for now. I might make a separate video about a lava farm tomorrow, but now let's take a look at the bundles, because they also got a little overhaul. So if your inventory is not open and you right-click the bundle while it's in your hotbar, then it would spill out
but I have a mad respect for people that know how to play any instruments.
Its contents just into the world, all of them at once. And there's another new feature. You can also now take a single specific item out of the bundle. It's actually not a specific one, it's always the first slot. If you right clicked, I would get the red sand, and then get the dirt, the pointed dripstone, and then the last one. In my opinion, that's a really good addition, but I feel like this could be even better if you could take out a specific item. So maybe if you hold down left shift, you could hover over the bundle item menu and take out a specific one. Something like that would be very welcome, I feel like. There's also now an indicator bar that shows you how full the bundle is if you have the advanced tooltips enabled, so F3 and H. You can see the fullness, 13 of 64. If you would add an item that stacks up to 16, like the ender pearl, then it adds 4 to it. Next, a couple of placement restrictions were added to candles. For example, you can no longer place them on top of leaves, or just place them in mid-air against a block. So they need a supporting block now to be placed down. You can still place them on top of end rods or chains, for example. And if you remove the block below, then they also wouldn't pop. So I can still have floating candles, but I couldn't just place another candle next to it now. Wearing any piece of leather armor will also now protect you from freezing damage when standing in powder snow blocks. So this could be boots, could be a helmet. Any piece would work. Okay, now we take damage. As soon as you take on the boots or any piece, then the freeze damage would stop. It's also curious if the same would apply to a horse. If it has to wear leather armor, but yeah, I was testing this, and the horse wouldn't take any damage in the first place. Player still takes damage, but the horse doesn't, regardless if it's wearing armor or not. Maybe it's actually the saddle that also protects the horse. So I spawned an untamed horse here in the powder snow, and it does take freezing damage. Maybe the saddle is already enough. No, seems like it's just bugged. So at the moment, the horse is taking damage, but as soon as we start riding it, that stops. The last thing we can test is put an armor on it, get off the horse, and see if it still takes damage. Okay, so the horse is still taking damage despite wearing leather armor. I think that shouldn't be a case though. Those 4 items here also have changed textures now. I think most noticeably is the clock, which is more in line of the new texture for gold. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.
I am actually in the category of people who think that Mambo Jumbo is not that great Minecrafter. Yes, he is good at redstone and stuff, but when it comes to mechanics and other stuff, oh my god, sometimes you can really facepalm yourself when you are watching it. Like a recent video when he was looking for dogs. He played this game for 10 years and he really don't know anything about dogs. Not necessarily a noob, he is more like not really at professional level, but he is at the point when a person plays for 10 years the same game casually. I would say that. And not like he's playing many hours a day and he still don't know a lot of things about this game. It sometimes really can piss me off. Maybe he knows them, but maybe it's a part of the lore of Hermitcraft. Yes, Minecraft songs are really beautiful, but I don't play with music on, since music only plays out when it's not needed. This is a texture pack that changes Elita wings to Vex wings. It's a bot that I summon with a carpet mode, so I can move freely and the farm will keep producing stuff. Bye, I will end stream soon. Because it's kinda late in my area. It's already 11 p.m. Bye, see you soon on the next stream. Have a good night. Okay, I think that should be enough for today's stream. Let me know in the comments if the mic audio was satisfying enough, because I bought a new mic. So if it was great, please let me know. If there's something that I could fix, then notify me about it. You can also visit my aerial live streams from yesterday. Monday live stream was pretty good. And visit my socials as Twitter, that's all my socials. And also join my Discord server. That's it for today, have a good night, bye.